Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the very first and live episode of The Real Boys, which is another podcast slash TV show where we just kind of bash our friends' love of movies. What we did here was we took about 8 different comedians and podcasters. We asked them what their favorite 5 movies were, and together we're just going to kind of review them in order of what they thought was their best. We got a bunch of guys coming on tonight. Let's see. First and foremost, obviously, we have my co-host of other shows, my writing partner, my sister from another Mr. Dylan Terry. Dylan, if you want to pop up in here real fast. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing fine, Zach. How are you?
Excellent, thank you. Obviously, people know all of my shows, but is there anything you want to talk about before we get into this good movie?
I don't know if there's anything I want to specifically talk about. We'll plug our stuff at the end of the show. Why not?
All right, that's cool. So quick spoiler-free review of A Quiet Place. What do you think?
It is functional to its detriment. It ticks all the boxes and does nothing new.
Yeah, right on. All right, we'll get back to you soon. Can we bring up Mr. Dan Levely, please? Dan, how are you, sir?
I'm all right. How you doing?
Doing great, man. Good to see you again. Are you excited about this show? Are you excited about this movie?
I'm excited about the podcast. Not so much the movie. I'll tell you why in a little bit.
All right, cool. Right on. Now, like we were said last week, we were going to have Chris Harvey host this episode because this was on his top 5 list. This was his number 5 of his top 5. But because of whatever traveling and this is the world, we're going to kind of roll without him today. So I'm going to lean heavily on you, Dan, to help me get this through, since I think you're the only other person that kind of likes this movie outside of Dylan and probably definitely Michael Colby, because I know that he's into really good horror movie. But we're going to bring you back up in a second, Dan. Let's bring up Justin Wallace, pretty please. Justin,
what's going on? Oh, I'm fantastic.
Yeah, right on. Carpool Shenanigans. What a good show. What about Carpool Shenanigans is the best tie-in to A Quiet Place?
The entertainment aspect of it, I guess, or the fact that we're quiet.
Yeah, which is obviously the best way to have a podcast, is just to be a little bit on the quiet end.
we just hit record and don't say nothing the whole time. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's almost like a negative ASMR. I can appreciate that, honestly.
Yeah.
Did you like this movie? Did you like A Quiet Place?
I liked what they could have done with it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Now you have that kind of that hillbilly kind of a twang to your voice. Did this feel closer to home because it was set in the woods?
Yeah, it reminded me of home. I'm surprised they didn't actually use my house for the whole movie set. They could have saved money there.
Yeah. Well, from what I mean, I've done shows with you, and your house is the exact opposite of A Quiet Place, so I can see why they did not do that. All right, let's Justin, we're gonna bring you back up in a second. If we're gonna bring up Mr. Johnny Blaze, please. Johnny Blaze, how are you, sir?
What's going on, man?
The Cloud Chronicles. Good to have you back, man. Good to get this thing started with you. I'm excited about this. Do you have like a quick review of A Quiet Place before we get into like the big in-depth thing? Did you like this movie?
Yeah, I liked it. I hated the ending, and I'm gonna leave it there.
Yeah, right on. Now, there's a lot of movies that are better or worse when you're under the influence of certain things. Is this like something that could get thrown into the Cloud Chronicles as a must if you're under the influence of anything? Or it's just like maybe a pass?
I mean, I liked it, man. I rewatched it earlier, too. So, we could do it. We could do that.
Yeah, right on. Cool. All right, let's I'll bring you back up in a second. Let's talk to Mr. Phil Better, please. Mr. Phil, how are you, sir?
I am doing wonderful. How are you doing?
Doing so good, man. Now, as a fellow Canadian, A Quiet Place, that's very close to home, right? Because you guys have kilometers and kilometers between noises. Is that true?
Yeah, I can confirm as a Canadian that sometimes our igloos are very vastly sparse.
And quiet.
And very quiet because, snow is dampening. So the aliens wouldn't have had much work here.
Yeah. Now, are you a fan of other alien movies, or is this something that just does not like touch your normal range of things?
So I am a really weird person. I'm a cinephile. So as long as the movie can give me something to be entertained about, be it an actor, be it a plot point, the movie already kicks all doors down. It's the best movie ever. But then if I'm going to look at it as critical, looking at analyzing how good the movie is, then like some movies are going to just fail just because I'm like, look, this is a stupid concept. But I love alien movies because who doesn't? Like I want to be on this. I'm a Trekkie Star Wars kid, right? I grew up with those movies. So any alien movie is like, I want, one, I want to meet an alien, and two, is the reason we haven't met aliens because we don't like being probed? I don't know. These are questions that need answers. Hopefully this episode will give us those answers.
Well, I'm going to jot that down to make sure that we start asking these questions, which are the important ones. Now, if you had to meet an alien, would you rather meet them on Earth or in space?
Space.
Perfect.
Okay. I want to be, I'm really jealous of Elon Musk right now because his ass is going to be like the first, private citizen to launch himself into space, So like that, I'm pissed off that that can't be me because who doesn't want to be the first person, right? So, yeah.
Man, maybe I'll be the second person. I got to see what's happening first.
Does Phil get killed? That's the question. Like, Phil goes up, shakes the alien's hand, dies. I'm not shaking hands anymore. Okay, cool. Ciao.
All right, Phil, we're going to get back to you in a second. Let's bring up Mr. Michael Colby, please. Michael Colby, how are you, sir?
Good. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Now, when you found out that A Quiet Place was the first movie that we were going to review, and I saw that you were in our chat the earliest, you were the first one in here. You're like seething to talk about this movie. Now, is this something that like is one of your normal go-tos, the alien, I guess, invasion movie?
You're not going to believe me when I say this, but I went into this movie going, I really wanted to like this movie. And I was forgiving a lot of stuff in the beginning. And then something happened that I will talk about in the episode. And then all the stuff that was wrong with it just came flooding in. Like, I do love an alien movie. Like my DVD shelf, Blu-rays filled with alien movies. Alien stuff is something that I love. This one in particular, not so much.
I'm aggressively excited to hear your take on this because I know that you like very weird movies. So I'm going to say, but yeah, let's actually, if we could bring all people up onto the page real fast, let's see how this works. I'm going to go over the quick synopsis of this movie, and obviously anyone can feel free to jump in at any time. But just in case for some reason people that are watching this do not know what A Quiet Place is, A Quiet Place is a movie that came out in 2018. It was written by a couple people, including John Krasinski, and it stars John Krasinski and his wife, Emily Blunt. And I guess the quickest synopsis to talk about this is two parents do what it takes to keep their children safe in a world of creatures hunting every sound they can hear. Not a sound that can be heard from a family hiding in silence, but all it takes is one noise and everything can go wrong. Now, obviously, that's not the best synopsis of this movie, but as far as a premise goes, having a movie designed where you cannot make noise, do you guys think that that premise is a good premise?
Yes, it's a genius premise.
Yeah, and obviously there was other movies that copied this, like Bird Box came out, which was kind of a ripoff of this. I'm not really sure exactly the timeline, but you can see a couple of movies that were mimicking this plot device.
Yeah, the studio saw that a sensory deprivation movie, which Quiet Place is, would bring big bucks. John Krasinski paved a road. I'm gonna fuck up on all names here. He paved the road, and everybody was like, "Okay, that works." And it's like Sharknado. It's the same thing that happened with Sharknado. We have how many Sharknados? I think we have like 15 now, and it's the only reason is because it makes money. So they see the money train.
Well, interesting point. Bird Box is adapted from a novel that was published in 2014. So that actually predates A Quiet Place as far as like media goes. But being turned into a movie, Bird Box definitely lifts a lot of elements from this as far as how it portrays things.
Yeah, right on. And now, obviously, we have Chris Harvey in here. Chris Harvey, how are you, sir? Good to see you.
I'm good. You hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good.
Now, A Quiet Place is one of your top 5 favorite movies. Do you want to quickly talk about this thing? Why is this on your list?
Because it's a good movie to watch, entertaining from the jump until the end of it. I heard some of the intros of these horrible people we have in this podcast.
Wow, love, so much love.
And just you know, I watch movies too. I don't watch a movie with any kind of. When I go to watch a movie, I don't have any kind of expectations. So I don't watch trailers. I go to a movie just to go to a movie, and so it makes me feel emotional.
No, I completely agree, and thank you for coming through here on the CB radio, which is awesome. No, Chris is in transit right now, and he let us all know that he's moving currently. So if he doesn't come in very, very clear, that's why. Just so you know, A Quiet Place, aka this comment section. Am I right? Yeah, for real. If you guys want, if you have any ideas on A Quiet Place, I know we just got started, but throw them into the chat. We'll yell about it. Okay, so to get this movie started, now this movie starts in the year 2020 and then goes into 2021.
Sure, okay.
Cool. Yeah.
I hope someone knows what he said because I didn't catch a single word.
He's got a post up outside of like a Wendy's or something to reach their Wi-Fi. Come on.
Right.
Yeah, that's how I watch this movie, was outside of a Wendy's. So this movie starts in 2020, the year 2020, even though it came out in 2018, and it goes over into 2021, and it kind of takes the place over, I guess, 300 some days, because it starts in day 88 or 89, and then it goes up into almost day 500. Now, with the premise of having like this slow burn of not understanding what's going on when you're watching this movie, I will say I saw this movie the day it came out, and this movie caught me. When it first came out, I was in a theater with my daughter, my partner, and I can remember, like, you know, I get the big popcorn and obviously the peanut M&Ms, and I go to town because I'm just an animal. And this was the only movie. This is the only movie that I can remember watching, and I had to stop eating popcorn because I was like, hey, I probably shouldn't make too much noise. It just felt weird. It was the most quiet viewing of a movie that I've seen. Now, speaking of that, did anyone else have a movie theater or cool first experience with this movie?
I did. So I just have one question, because when I saw A Quiet Place, there was no subtitles at all. So it was zero talking. And I'm wondering, in the movie theaters, was there subtitles when they were doing the ALS and all that? Like, so you knew what they were talking about?
I don't remember in the theater if there was. I would assume so, but when I watched it recently, I had the subtitles on. So
yeah, so when I first saw it, I had zero subtitles because a friend of mine had ripped it and gave it to me legally somehow. I'm not going to disclose how. I guess I plead the fifth or something. I don't know, right? International laws. I'm a diplomat. But yeah, so I watched it, and I was in my apartment, and like I had my phone turned off. I was so glued into it, and the movie kept me going the whole way. And the minute there was actually sound, some moments scared me. Like there was the sometimes soft music, but like big sounds. Like I jumped because it was so quiet, and I was like so connected to the movie.
Michael, now being a fan of alien movies and obviously horror movies, no matter how bad they are,
the ending sucked. I just have to say, the ending actually.
You're right. The ending. Yeah, it was bad.
Like it was horrible. Up to it, like the whole like. It's like Signs. When you see Signs, I can connect it to that. The whole movie, you're like, oh my God, this is fucking amazing. This is good. This is good. This is good. Then you see what happened, and you're like, what the? Are you? No, yep. I'm not accepting this.
Yeah.
Yep.
I am not accepting this. This is Game of Thrones did the same thing. You're like, nah.
Well, one of the weird things about this movie is that it's a tight 90 minutes.
Yeah.
So there is plenty of room, even for an additional 10 minutes to wrap things up. But this very much feels like a part one, and it doesn't end on a note where you're like, yeah. You see like two more of these things come at them, and you're thinking, how are they going to get out of this? Not going to bother showing it. Just gun cock, fade, cut to black.
But also,
I think it was made for like, we're going to do this in a sequel, so we can leave some of the parts out in the first one. And I think that's where they lost people, is they left a lot out of the first one to get people intrigued into the second one, which I know I watched about half of the second one, and I turned it off. It was terrible.
Is the second one out?
You've already watched the second one?
I've seen it on like some websites. Yes,
Oh.
it's a hard rip on some websites. Yes.
Oh, right on.
He's,
But
he's legally
back to what I
watching that.
Oh yeah, yeah, like all
Legally
good
watching
Canadians.
this. Yes.
Yes,
Legally.
yes.
Michael, now
Yes.
I feel this movie has like it has to have a setting where it makes you feel right. What was your first viewing of this movie? Was it recently for this?
My first viewing was for this. Like, I was interested in it before, but I just never sort of got around to it. But once, I knew it was for this show, I was like, all right. I actually went out to a Walmart and bought this. And like the beginning is like really cool. It's like really tense, and they kill a 4-year-old in the first like 10 minutes of this movie.
I have to say, that was fucking balls to the wall.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, wow, this movie has some balls. And then it just goes downhill from there. That first scene fucking rules. And then it just goes downhill from there on.
Like the first 30 seconds was the best part of the movie.
I'm glad we can find common ground on child murder and film.
It just, it just doesn't happen. So when you do it right at the beginning of the movie, it's like, all right, this movie has something. This movie's not afraid to kill a 4-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna do some interesting shit, but then it doesn't do any interesting shit.
So what I think what they tried to do was like with the 4-year-old at the beginning, hit you with that, and then they wanted to hit you again with the John Krasinski death because you see him being this protector of the family, all this, but it's so like midway through it, it's like red flag. They're not even trying to hide it. You already get that, like, oh, they're trying to emotionally manipulate me into caring so much about this father because of what he did. They're going to obviously try and shock me with killing me.
Yeah, but they did a terrible job because through that entire movie, it seems like Krasinski does not give one single shit about anybody except for his wife.
He's a bad dad.
Yeah, a terrible
father.
Yeah, bad dad.
Johnny, and they have that moment with the son. Like, they try and redeem him there, but it's too late.
It's way too late by then.
You call that a child murder scene? I call that a fuck them kids moment.
I have to agree. Look, I'm not gonna lie. Like, we're all selfish motherfuckers in our lives, right? Like, selfish to a degree. But if my life depends on keeping quiet, and that motherfucking kid decides to play with a toy, he knows the motherfucking rules because he saw a motherfucker die, and he doesn't want to listen to the rules. I did my job. My job is
that kid 100% deserves it.
Like, it's sad because no one wants to lose a parent. No one wants to see someone die they care about. But at the same time, you have to also put yourself in the position of the world at that moment. It's do or die, motherfuckers. And if we make noise,
this is the first time we've done this.
Yeah, like, this isn't our first rodeo. We know the rules.
The thing I found interesting about that is that they leave 2 perfectly good working batteries on a counter when those are fuel sources in the post-apocalypse. These people, it's not that the kid deserved to die, it's that Krasinski deserved to lose a kid to teach him a lesson.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point. Justin, you have like 9 kids running around your house at all times. If a kid has a toy and you take the batteries out, do you leave it right beside the toy so that jerk kid can obviously put those batteries right back in that effing toy? Is that something that as a parent you would do that in an apocalypse?
Well, yeah, food is scarce, and that's just one more mouth I had to feed. So.
Good point. Smart from a parent, man, but truthful as well. Like, you have to respect that honesty.
Justin will absolutely eat his own kids in an apocalypse without making noise. Johnny Blaze, when you saw this movie, what was the setting you were in when you watched this? Because I think that it actually has a reference if you're alone in a theater versus having known what the story is, watching it way later, and then not being able to feel it the same way other people feel it. What was your environment the first time you watched it?
I got to watch it at home. So on DVD, it was the first time I watched it.
Was it
And-
recent or like when it
No, it was
first
a
came
long
out?
time ago, but I did rewatch it earlier this afternoon, so I was like fresh, especially about that bullshit ending.
Now, for me, I got, you know, I took my daughter, I took my partner, my daughter's friend was there, so it was like a bunch of just us, and we're like, oh my god, this is actually like really quiet, really scary. But watching it at home, what is the moment that everyone was like, this movie sucks, I'm out?
Well, I mean, I actually liked the film, man. I thought it was a good idea, great concept. It was just the ending. Like, if he wanted to go out like that, he wasn't mortally wounded. He was right there in a barn with all these weapons. I thought he was going to go Jon Snow on this thing, man. I wanted to see some like 10-minute, back and forth with the weapon, something like that, maybe. And then maybe he dies. But, he just, and then that was kind of, I was not happy. That's when I was just like done. I was like, that's it. Yeah,
Didn't even swing the axe, nothing.
He didn't swing.
Yeah.
He drops the axe. I was like, what are we doing here?
He dropped
He
the
could
only
have
weapon he had.
He
I bet he did have
took
to
one
all that
out.
stuff
If
was
he took
wonderful.
one out and another motherfucker came behind, okay, fine. I'm gonna care for him. I'm gonna love him. But he went out with a whip. This is John Krasinski. Like 13 hours, John Krasinski, Jack Ryan badass going out with a whimper. Nah, I can't accept that.
Well,
My thought was maybe he's like, I know I'm going to do a sequel, but I don't want to be in it. I just want to direct. So
flashbacks.
I'm just gonna kill myself off at the end, and then there's nothing to talk about.
Yeah, I don't blame him for that.
It's that kind of played into my view of this just ticking the boxes. You've got the expositional text. You have the newspaper at the beginning where it says in big words, it's sound. You have his data whiteboard where it's like, what's the weakness? Armor plating. You have a whole bunch of like exposition stuff. You have cool shots that don't really think about the logic of it, like where he gets all the sand or any of the electronic equipment in his basement. And then you have the redemption equals death moment at the end where he has failed as a father up to this point, and the only way the screenplay knows to redeem him is not to save his family, but to kill him off. And it feels a little hollow, at least in my mind, partially just because it felt unearned.
And a lot of that shit I was like letting go, and then they got to the river and they're talking next to the river, and I'm like, if this river drowns out the sound of these people talking, why don't they just fucking move to the river? And then after that, every other thing that happened that I was letting go was like, no, fuck this movie.
I want to just say that Dylan just like perfectly used like very sophisticated words for his description of the movie, and I was just like, I wasn't taken back. I'm like, I didn't know we had a connoisseur in the house.
You didn't know we had
$10 word, man.
Edit that out. I don't need that.
Wait, edit out Phil trying to say the word connoisseur.
No, keep that in.
Yeah, good. We're going to double that. So as far as everyone goes, now we've obviously all talked last time, and it seems like everyone here is a lover of movies and a lover of scary movies or horror movies. As far as creature design goes, how do we feel this alien looked? I know that somebody had a problem with this creature, but let's go around and kind of talk about how the alien itself was portrayed. So, Dylan, I know you're a fan of monster movies. What do you think of the creation of this creature?
It's fine. It's slightly better than fine, I think. I like lanky. I like the long forearms. I'm a big fan of like that sort of like loping, weird, big curled up finger claws thing. The head design, whenever it does the close in on the ear, I really liked. But there's something missing. Whether it's just that they're dull gray, or if they're another big sharp tooth monster thing, or there's something that's not quite there. It's like, we designed a monster that can kill people, and it hears very good. Yeah. And do we want to add anything to this? Do we want anything? Nope. Send it out. Get the video guys on it.
I think the problem with it was that it was too humanoid. Like they could have added something else. Like the way that the armor on the head moved looked really cool, but like it just looked like a hunched over person with no eyes and long, forearm claw things. And I thought it was really like, as soon as they close up on that ear thing, I'm like, well, that's obviously the weak point of this thing. Like they just have to figure this out. Everything was just so like predictable.
What about you, Justin? What'd you think of this alien?
Remind me of the aliens and Signs.
Kind of like that, but with bigger eyeballs, and I don't know if they had a mouth.
Oh, I mean, that's the general body shape of it. That's kind of what it reminded me of.
Oh, I thought you were asking me to remind you of what they look like.
Yeah.
He's like, what? We're talking
all right.
about aliens.
Amnesia sucks.
Yeah.
I don't even know how I got here.
You're right, Zach. That's what they looked like.
Right, it was about the same. Yeah. Johnny Blaze, why were they killing humans? Was it just for sound? Were they eating the humans?
I'm definitely gonna say they were eating the kids for sure.
Just kids. So they're like the Hollywood elite. They're just killing off kids.
Yeah, I
in
mean,
their
and
ranges.
that old guy too. He got ate. You know,
I mean, that's
The
I'm
old
not
people,
really
they
sure
just
like the whole monster thing. I think the whole floating head thing, like Michael said, was cool, but beyond that, the body design was kind of like it was like, yeah, we'll just throw that on there. Like they stopped after they did the head. Like there was no more thought.
We don't know.
Generic monster. It's
we
Yeah,
don't
or
know
maybe
what
they're
they're
going to say
doing
that they
either.
evolved or something. They're like some humans that like evolved into these things or something. Like they go that way with it, possibly. I don't know.
They
Yeah.
never ascribe an origin to them either. They never
Exactly,
say that
and
they're
that's-
from space or demons or underground, which I think
Exactly.
does detract from it a little bit. Because even if they made some offhand mention of like they came from the cave system we found, like
They
they
did.
developed
they didn't
underground, so
say
they can
anything
hear
about
well.
it.
like they
Nothing.
gave us. They said this is what we know about them. That's it. And it's like, no, I need. If I'm going to be watching this movie, I don't care if the people in the movie know, but I need to know where these motherfuckers come from so that I at least can be more invested. Now it's just a generic monster movie that I don't care. Like Cloverfield did a better monster movie, and the Cloverdog's Paradox was a better monster movie than
Disagree.
this.
No.
Strong disagree on that.
Well,
one.
the
yeah,
monster was better.
I mean, I'll give you Cloverfield was better, but
Okay,
not
Cloverfield.
the Paradox. That movie's
Hard
absolutely
no.
Dan,
Okay, I'm gonna leave.
Dan,
Take me out of the shot.
when watching this movie, what did you think the aliens were doing? What was their point? Were they just global takeover?
Well, that's where I was confused. I didn't know what was the concept of the aliens. Were they aliens? Were they just monsters like hiding in a cave? How'd they get here? Where'd they come from? What the hell are they doing? They look. The alien looks like if Venom was a blind Sasquatch. That's what it would. That's what it would. The monster would be. It was. I did not get the concept of the monsters at all. I didn't know. Are they eating the people? Are they not eating the people? If they're not eating the people that they're hunting, then why do they have teeth?
I don't think they were eating them
beat the
because
shit out of
the
this movie. I'm sorry.
the old lady that they found in the woods was just dead there, and her husband was standing there. Like it didn't look like they were eating them at all.
No, I think they were just killing them and leaving them there, which led me to believe why do they need teeth? Because they have these big ass claws that they're killing the people with.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
that
know.
was
something.
That was my
like-
main.
Go ahead.
Go
Sorry.
ahead, Phil. No, go ahead.
It's like it's a human story with a bit of an alien story in it. Like they didn't give us like they wanted to make it be more. Let's concentrate on the human aspect of this and then take like science out. Sorry,
Rude.
I apologize. Like they take
Telemarketer
science.
from 1996 just called.
No, it's my parents. Being honest, my parents just called.
Hang on, let me call them
Podcast.
back real fast.
Hold on. In Canada, I'm sorry. Let me get the old back. Jesus. But like they wanted to take like science, how science didn't really show you the aliens until the end, and they're like, well, we won't disappoint because look, our alien is really more than like the head looks fucking cool to be honest, but the rest of it is generic. So then they added that to this human story. They're like, oh, we'll just add these aliens and we'll just split it up and no one will question anything. People are dumb.
I do think the build up to the reveal of the actual full size monster is pretty well done. You see glimpses of it through trees in the dark, really quick flashes of it, and then you get the full shot, and you're like, "Oh, this thing is like all claws and ear," which is a good build up, which I think works tonally in the movie. But Again, it's hamstrung by just the fact that there's nothing behind them.
Yeah, if they could give us some meat on the awesome skeleton they've given us, like give us something more to connect. We need 2 points of connection. Why do we hate them more than that they killed his son? Like, who are they? But I think they wanted to do like a series of different families, different events of similar to what happened with John Krasinski to build it out into like a Marvel universe. But with how Dan was saying, they failed with the second one, apparently.
It's the same characters, apparently.
Michael
It's a
Colby,
prequel.
quick
There's
question.
a new guy, but that's it. Same characters, but new guy.
These aliens go after sound. What would you think is the first animal that's going to be decimated off this planet?
Humans.
Cows that can't fight back. I don't know.
Like birds?
Like, wait, do they
Birds
kill
would be able
other
to get away
things?
from him easily.
We don't see them kill any other wildlife. There are raccoons that show up, and we don't see anything. No, it does drag that raccoon
Yeah, it
away.
does kill that one.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
raccoon.
it killed the raccoon.
So it is just a sound thing. So they came to this planet to be annoyed by us so that they can be that neighbor that just shoots us for making too much sound on the weekend, right?
We don't know if they came to this planet. They might have popped through a
Yeah.
portal or something.
Oh,
Like,
true.
we don't know
Yeah.
what they are. So like we're
Yeah.
assuming they're
That
aliens.
experiment gone wrong.
Coming from underground would make more sense than anything.
Yeah, true. That whole Hollow
I
Earth
agree.
thing.
Yeah.
like
Now,
multiple-
Johnny
Yeah.
Blaze, Johnny. Now, seeing that they have to live in quiet, how do you think this movie worked as far as having them live a quiet life with like the sand for steps and the yarn for games? Do you think that they did a good job living a quiet life?
Yeah, I thought that was done real well, especially how they had the parts on the board where they couldn't step on the ones that make crack sounds. I've noticed. I was like, that's pretty smart. They went into very good detail about living completely quiet. I mean, and the more I thought about it, man, that would be hard. That would be just very hard, just all the time, like no sound, no. Man, what if you rip one?
I was just thinking that.
What
It's
if you
like,
snore?
man. You cough, you sneeze, you hiccup.
You mean
like,
to tell me that no one's ripping ass in that whole town?
You got allergies, bro. Like, I mean, what happens?
Justin,
it.
now
That's what it is. Go.
knowing how much sound childbirth makes, do you think that they were very upset when they found out that they were going to have a baby? Because I mean, that's a lot of noise, right? So at some point, he's got like, "Hey, I'm probably just got to break up with you because I don't want to deal with this."
Yeah, I mean the human of me wants to try to make it work as best as I possibly can. The realist in me is grabbing my shit and bailing. I mean, there's no way. How can you raise a baby that's going to cry every 5 seconds?
They put the baby in a box.
That box looked horrific.
I expected that.
Yeah.
The very
Let's
first
hope-
time I watched this, I expected a twist where like a human group would show up and tell them like, "Hey, no more torturing your kids." Like that. It turns out these guys are the bad guys among all the human survivors. Nah, they're just being practical by putting their baby in a carpet box.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
then
thing.
therapy
As soon as
for
I saw
years.
them building that thing, I'm like, are you fucking serious? This is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. And then you put the oxygen tank on it. It's like, where are you getting more oxygen tanks?
Can we talk about the nail?
Yes, please. Let's talk
Why didn't
about
they
the
fix the fucking nail?
fucking nail.
Just put
She knew the nail was there.
a cloth on it. I don't know. Mark
Also,
it.
who hammers up when building steps? Like,
Yeah,
what, you
There's
always
no
hammer
reason
down.
for that nail to be where it was.
No,
It's
100% not.
So it's something I also notice about how they treat the kids in this movie and the baby is that it's just a narrative tool because they're like, well, what would be a good scene? Well, what if she gets hurt?
In the middle
Well,
of
how
the
would she get hurt? Yeah. Well, what if there was a nail in the stair? Cool. Yeah. And then they're like, all right, we're that doesn't make a
How
whole
do we
lot of
get the nail in?
sense.
How do we get? Just put it in. No one will
do
ask
it.
questions.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Also,
But I will say though,
fire
it
that
was a
carpenter.
cool scene.
It's fine, but it feels like they don't quite trust the audience because when she pulls the nail up with the bag, it lingers on that nail for a long shot, whereas didn't need that at all. Like,
Like the scenes were cool, but you're right. It didn't trust the audience, and it was sort of the same way with everything. The sand included. Like, is the sand really any quieter than the dirt? None of it makes sense. And like I said, if that river thing didn't happen,
Yeah.
I would have been like, oh, okay, they put sand down, whatever. But then, you're talking next to this river and we live 5 miles away from it, even though that's also where we get our fish, which is what we eat. Like, move closer to the river.
Oh, I thought somebody's talking.
Is that someone talking or a background noise?
No,
Yeah,
I think it was
someone
background.
Like the monsters are coming for you.
So I'm like, am I hearing shit? Am I having
So what are some questions that this movie left open? Dylan, do you have any questions other than what was the point?
I mean, I feel like we're probably hitting on most of them. It's like monster, not even motivation, just monster presence. What are they there? Like, we don't get any speculation, which sometimes is a good thing, but when we're also not shown at all what the monsters do beyond attacking sources of noise, it doesn't make us feel satisfied in their appearance.
Yeah. Michael, where do you think like the sequel should go with this? Like what's the world building that's going to happen? Or is this just another like just badass woman fighting through the woods?
Well, what they need to do is, I mean, everybody here has said it. They need to establish what these things are. If they're demons, cool. If they came from, 200 miles under the earth, cool. If they come from space, cool. But let me know like where they came from and what they want. I don't care about the people. Tell me what these things are and what they want and why they're here.
Yeah, no, I think that's very valid. Did anyone watch this movie twice? Like, is this the first viewing for everyone?
I watched it 3 times. Like,
Why would you punish yourself?
I was going to ask if you liked it more or less, but you seem so defeated just by answering that. So I guess I don't.
It's only 4.5 hours if you watch it 3 times. That's really not much when you consider movies.
I know, that's a Snyder cut right there.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the
but at
Snyder
least there's
cut.
more entertainment in the Snyder cut.
I mean, I'll have more to talk about for the Snyder cut, I'm sure.
sometimes I have to watch a movie more than once to like it. So I was trying my hardest to like this movie. I really was. I couldn't do it.
Now, I will say, this movie had a budget of $17 million, and it looks really good for that. Cinematography-wise, shooting-wise, locations, even the monster CGI is generally pretty good. And when you consider most of that budget probably went to Emily Blunt and John Krasinski's appearances, that's a pretty good working budget for the visual effects in this. The issue is that, of course, get another writer in there or something.
Flesh it out a bit.
Wait, did they have a soundtrack for this movie?
God, I hope not.
There was like 2 songs in the whole thing.
It's the beginning and the end. That's it.
There's that song where they were in their earphones too, and they were dancing in the basement together.
Oh yeah.
There was kind of that moment.
Oh yeah.
There's an original soundtrack, but it's all score. I don't think they have any top 40 pop on here or anything like that.
I don't know if
No Imagine
Braille
Dragons coming in over the end credits.
Oh, too bad.
Thank God.
Bad. Yeah, I would say for $17 million, like the movie feels like almost a blockbuster. It has a good ambiance. It's just, once again, I don't think that the alien design was, really thought out. Now, I read somewhere that they didn't even understand what the creature was going to look like until months before the movie was released. So even throughout filming, they didn't know what this creature was going to look like. They didn't know what it was doing. So I don't think they did enough actual research, because once I watch this movie at the end, I'm like, what are they doing? Are they just killing humans, or are they just trying to cut off all sound? I don't know. Does somebody say
My question is, wait, what about crickets? Are they killing crickets now? You have to, what is the sound? Is there a certain level of sound they allow? Or is it always at the moment there's sound, they're attacking? So crickets are okay, crickets are gone, bees are gone, mosquitoes, do you see them trying to attack a mosquito if it's buzzing around? Is there a level of sound they're okay with? Give me, you've given me the characters of the humans, but I need to know more about their antagonists. What is their purpose? If you say they just conquer planets, okay, cool, I'll take it. Give me something, not just that they kill sound. Okay, That's the enemy. Sound is the enemy, if you will. The villain. Give me something about the villain so I can like at least attach some emotion to it.
They do seem to be able to move silently, because there are multiple times where a character will turn around, the monster's right behind him, and I'm like, I don't buy it. John Krasinski at the end, he turns around and the thing is on the arch or whatever. When Emily Blunt's in the basement, there's one just randomly down there with her. It gets into the house without making any noise. I'm like, be a little more consistent.
Yeah, that thing could move through the cornfield without rustling leaves. Like a
velociraptor in the Lost World Jurassic Park.
Yeah, we didn't know anything about the monster. They're just like, okay, the monster's going to do this. The monster can do this. I'm like, okay, is this God? Like, is the monster God? Like, is that where you're playing at? He's God?
I think you're thinking of Signs.
It's
great
nearly
movie, by the way.
It is a great
I think
movie
the
up
movie
until
would
the
have been
reveal.
better. I think the movie would have been better if it wasn't monsters. If it was just like humans, like possessed humans, somewhat. I think the movie would have been a little bit better, because then we don't need that whole backstory of the whole monsters and aliens. But
Bird Box did it that way, because we end up finding out, okay, it's some weird dynamic presence, at least. Like, okay, we know what it is. We know our villain. Like, yes, we can't see what they gave us a reason why you don't see. But here we don't talk because these monsters kill us. Okay, but where did they come from?
No, I agree.
So I got a
Johnny,
question
what do you?
about the whole. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to ask you a question, so hit me with it. Go ahead.
Okay, y'all were talking about the lake earlier. Okay, so why, if it's about sound, why was the lake like not flooded with them?
Yeah, why weren't there one like bashing the shit out of the lake and just all splashing?
Yeah, like hot bed for them. Like,
yeah, like a really skimpy bathing suit.
I mean, they probably figured out what the river was.
Okay, that
so
makes
they
sense.
left it alone. But again, if they figured out that the river makes noise and they can just ignore it, why don't the people just go closer to the river, because the things are going to ignore it?
Like society, like the reason we have society the way it is because of the rivers. Like, if you look at any major town, where is it? Source of water.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So why don't you just? We're going back to basics here. Like I know, okay, I'm not allowed to make noise, but if I'm by this river, they don't. Fuck it, I'm living by the river. I'm a hobo by the river.
There you go. There you go.
Like,
and have the baby by the river.
Okay, we are going like pretty big with this. Can we talk about one scene that was just one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen? And that was this scene inside the corn silo where the kids were sinking into the corn unless they were sitting on this metal door that for some reason was rock solid on top of it. Like, what are the physics of this world? Are we in the real world?
So I can touch on that.
Okay.
As a Canadian and that deals with a lot of snow, and I have friends who are farmers, because we do have a flat plain called Saskatchewan, which is just, you can watch people run for miles and miles. And
Look,
miles.
he's watching somebody run now.
Yeah, someone's just running. It's weird in my apartment. No, but so what it does is it spreads out the weight. So like if you're standing still, you go sink straight down.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make sense. I know. I'm just trying to say they're trying to use some physics.
Yeah, the door was not that big. So for it to not move at all, even with the kids on it.
Oh yeah.
But when they were on the corn itself, they're just like it's fucking quicksand.
I have a more cynical answer for you, Mike. And that is the corn silo is not actually a corn silo. It's a narrative tool to generate tension. It doesn't have to follow real life rules.
Are you a professor or something?
No, I'm a writer.
Okay,
this is exactly if I was going into a monster movie and I was like, we've had a lot of monster encounters. Let's do something to endanger the characters that is not monster based. It's like, well, what's on a farm? What's around there? They could sink. They could be in like a corn silo. Does corn? Would they sink like that? I don't know. Maybe it's like sand. Maybe it's like quicksand. Okay. How do they get out of the silo? We put a monster in there with them. Wouldn't that just immediately just like murder them immediately? No, it's going to tear its way out of the silo, and then the kids can get out and meet their dad. It's
Yeah. Also, where was the corn going? Like when it was being funneled down, where was it going? And also, didn't that make a lot of noise? That had to be like one of the most like cacophonic. I don't know if that's a word, but just like just a
Oh, yeah.
It is now. It is now. We have
Well done.
sorry. The $10 man. The $10 man has said, "Okay, Dylan is now our $10 man."
I do believe
Yeah.
it's cacophonic.
Cacophonic, yes. Sorry about
Cacophonic.
that. But yeah, it just seemed like there were things in this world that made more noise than this aggressively quiet family that was just trying to have more and more kids the way that Justin Wallace lives his life. Now,
Hey, tax returns, my guy. It's where it's at.
okay, Johnny Blaze, do you have any interest in seeing the sequel to this movie that Dan has a copy of somewhere?
Yeah, I definitely want to check it out. I'd love to see where they're going to go with it.
Yeah.
Because
What do you
like everybody was talking about it? There's so much that was just like, where's this? What is this? What is this? Like, so yeah, I'd like to know what they're going to do.
Yeah, what do you want to see them do with it? Is it just like you need education on the monster, or do you need real world? Like, how did they get here? Like, what? Just
I'd like
more
a little
education,
monster
right?
origin if it's not too much. I'd like a little monster origin, man. Like maybe have like the first 20 minutes of like them coming or wherever they came from, and then like the first encounter with humans and the news showing, oh, we're being invaded. Because remember in the scene earlier after the whole battery with the kid thing, it showed a little piece of a flap of a paper, and it was like it's the sound, and like that's the only background they gave us on.
Yeah.
what had been happening prior to, like it just said it's the sound. Like you thought maybe it would have gave a date or something, like it began 20 years ago, or it's been 20 years since.
Yeah, I think that's my biggest problem with
far
this movie.
away.
Yeah.
There were multiple Silent Bob cameos in this. You just didn't hear them apparently. Phil,
He's in a tree somewhere.
In most sequels to Alien movies, they have to adopt or change the alien to fit in. Like if you watch Predators, eventually they have like the Predator dogs, or you have like the tiny one. What do you think they're going to change in the sequel to make it worse than the first one?
I don't think they're there yet. They're going there. If the sequel does make any money, then you can expect the dog version of the alien to show up. But the sequel is probably they realize they didn't do enough world building, and give us more narrative tools. Look, I can use big words too.
Tools.
Yeah, tools. I'm a tool. What do you want? I added an S. That's all. How I play Scrabble. I can add an S. I win. Triple word score. But no, they just give us give us a bit more world building. Tell us a bit more what's happening, and then introduce a dog or a cat version or a bird version, if you will, of this alien. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a bird version.
It's the rule of Alien, where you get a normal one, and then you do a big one, and then you do a lot of small ones.
Yeah.
Now,
Chris, well, I think you and I kind of had the same thing when we saw this movie, where I saw it in the theater when it first came out. I was one of the few people in here, and it was quiet. Do you think that was one of the reasons this movie stuck out to you throughout all these years?
Okay, first off, can y'all hear me? I'm at a Starbucks.
yes.
Yeah. And
we were thinking Wendy's, but they work.
Yeah.
No, I just one, if it's a movie that intrigues me, that makes me think is thought provoking of like, oh man, what would I do in a situation like that? To me, that's a good movie. If I'm thinking about it later, that's a good movie to me. Anything that's bringing emotion out or thoughts that's like, oh man, what would happen? What would I do with my kids? Or would I leave them? Or what would I do? First off, if you're a writer, take the thoughts. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm going to go on a rant real quick. Because I've been listening to this bullshit all fucking for the last 40 minutes.
Perfect.
And I got something for you, David Cross, here in a minute. So you better be ready, Michael. If you're a writer, we're all obviously podcasters, so we're thinkers and we're writers and we're all these kind of things. But watching a movie like that is injustice. It's just a wrong way to watch a movie. If you watch a movie with no expectations and you let it emotional, you guys are thinking of logical things, but then you guys say dumbest stuff like, "What about the nail?" First off, when you're building steps and if you go upwards, it's less sound. That's just common knowledge. Everyone should know that. If you hit upwards, that's why the nail was going upwards, because they had to build the stairs. They had to refix Come on, guys.
The nail was in the middle of the board, though.
In the middle of
Whatever
the
you
board.
say, Chris.
They used a
without
rubber mat.
sound. They teach that in middle school. Second off,
What middle school did you go to where they're teaching you to build stairs?
I went
Pioneer
to
school or
Harvard.
something.
Now listen. Secondly, you guys are bringing up all these little things. That, the corn doesn't make sense, and this doesn't make sense. But then you want to know how the aliens would make sense. If the aliens came right now to kill us all, you think they're going to tell us where they're from? Hey, before I kill you, I'm from planet Krypton. No, we wouldn't know in real life. So why do we get to know in the movie? You wouldn't know. So the characters don't know what's wrong or who they are or why they kill. All they know is that the dude they kill with sound. And that's all we should get to know because they don't know.
Yeah, but Chris,
Fair.
do you think that they also killed like parakeets that were talking, or woodpeckers, or like just wind? A lot of things make sound, especially more
said
than
wind.
humans can.
Okay. If a tree falls in the woods, did you hear it?
Am I close to it? Probably.
Theoretically,
Tree
yes.
falls in the woods. Would these things go after it and start just slashing at
I
it?
have questions. They didn't give me
Trying to
enough
stop it down.
of the aliens.
Yes, they would. They travel. They go by sound. So whatever, it's obvious that this is
So
only
why aren't
one
they
little
attacking the
region.
water?
So you said what?
Why they ain't attacking the water?
That's maybe where they're at all the time. Maybe that's where they're sleeping at. Because that's where they always think something's at. We don't know.
So wait, let me whoa. Then I have another question. Following up, if they sleep in there, why the hell is John Krasinski bringing his boy there to bathe and then communicate with
So, these are
verbally?
hypothetical.
That's bad daddy 101 right there.
Okay, first off, with the world being regular, there's bad dads. Imagine if everyone's dying.
You're right.
Get bad dad problems.
This is the same dad that left the batteries next to the toy that makes noise and let his kid die. So
Yeah, he's a bad
okay,
dad.
You know why?
Bad
You know
dad.
why he did that? Hold on. You know why? Imagine not being able to talk to your family, right? And your wife is still pissing you off. You're like, you know what? Let me go get the batteries from the store real quick, just so you can have a couple hours to yourself.
But in this case, you know that that's going to get everyone killed.
still put it in your
Okay,
goddamn
what
pocket.
if he was
Like,
like-
do the same thing.
That's his to go. Okay, you have a backup plan. That's like going to go get milk and never coming back. I'm gonna go get these. He was setting up a plan.
I'm just going to get my entire family murdered.
Here's a question.
Okay.
You have yourself and your 3 children and your partner. You and your partner are physically capable of at least like getting your kids out of the way. Marching order, when you're walking through hostile territory, do you have both adults in the front or do you have one in front and one in the back to keep an eye on kids who sneak batteries into their toys behind your back?
It just
You don't
depends
have
on
the
how
death
much I
child
like
in the
the
back.
kid.
What's that?
You said what?
Said you don't have the
How
death
much I
child
like
in the
the
back.
Yeah, true. Yeah, there's a
have
lot of
the what?
kids. Some of those kids got go.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
so-
but then
less
they
mouse to
replace him.
okay, but first, everyone makes bad decisions. All right.
I love how you're trying to justify.
No, he's right. They're less than 3 months into the end of the world. I understand like losing one of 3 kids. That's an understandable ratio.
And I don't remember. I didn't watch. I was busy all week, so I didn't get to watch the movie again. I've seen it multiple times, but I don't remember the timeline they showed of how long they were in the woods or whatever for. And that's another thing. Whoever keeps saying move to the river, you sound dumb. You okay?
High five.
Yeah,
Okay,
except
you're-
everyone agrees with move next to the river.
No. Okay. How do you move? Okay, but okay. What do you move with? You can't build nothing. You're gonna build a new house. You're gonna sleep in the woods with your 3 kids and a pregnant wife. Now you sound like a bad
I mean,
dad.
it's
Two
no
kids and a
worse
pregnant
than
wife.
it's no worse than the shitty house that they have where they keep all the fucking doors open all the time.
Oh, yeah, but it's a little bit different. You have things that you can put things away. You have options. You have a pillow. You got to carry all that 5 miles. You got to have
This
a
is
truck
the-
that would be.
This
At
is
least they
the
have-
apocalypse. Live in a fucking tent.
No, I don't know. I'm with Chris on that. If you have a sturdy house, you got to live in that house. You got to put
Yeah.
sand everywhere. You got to make
Now,
your
if you
checkerboard with
would've
the
had an
yarn.
argument, if you would have said somehow dig the river to your house so that the river's by your house, I would have been like, okay, make a river by your house. That makes sense. If you're like, you had that much, I don't know how long they have, but I would
That
be
would be
building a
much
river.
louder. That
So,
would be much
moving a
louder
river?
than moving your house.
Yeah, irrigation.
Building a
Yeah, you
river?
can do it.
You just dig a hole and some water. That's it.
Well, they very clearly have some sort of irrigation because they're farming a shitload of corn.
Yeah, and every scoop that you take out of the dirt is going to make enough noise to attract these aliens.
Justin, real quick, is it true you can make a river by just digging a hole and then water?
Okay, but you guys don't know how to build stairs either, so don't come at me.
I mean,
Just put one on
that
top of each
logic-
other, right?
No,
Yeah,
Chris,
with that
You
type of
just have
logic
to
in the
nail
stairs.
a nail from the bottom into the middle of the step. That's all you have to do.
yeah, I'm with you. But Chris, honestly, I'm gonna say I did like this movie. I saw some faults in it, but as someone who writes movies or tries to write movies, I understand. And this movie, it did something that not a lot of movies can do, which was it caught me off guard and it made me stop eating popcorn. I had to be so quiet while eating this because I was so into it, especially in the first. So I guess we should learn some sort of rating system. Dan, what rating system do you want to give to this show?
Recommend
No,
or
not to this movie. I mean, what are we going to start rating movies that we discuss on here? Not just raspberries.
Want to do thumbs down, up, down?
No, do it by,
I don't know,
do it by
10?
stars. Yeah, I got an idea. We do it by stars. You do 10, right? And then we count up all the stars of the thing, and then that's how you rank the movies. So then there's 8 of us times 10 stars. The top you can get is 80 stars.
All right. So, Chris, how many stars out of 10 do you give A Quiet Place?
8.5. 8 and 8.
He's
And I gotta do-
so
now I gotta do
trying to
math.
make sure. No.
I got it.
Stars.
Johnny
we have
Blaze.
we got the writer over here. He's handling everything.
Johnny Blaze, out of 10 stars, how many stars do you give 2018's A Quiet Place?
7.
All right, that's pretty forgiving.
I like Johnny.
Dan.
I like Johnny.
And out of 10 stars, dog, come on.
Out of 10, I'm gonna be generous. 4.
4?
Wow.
Dang.
4.
Feel better. Out of 10 stars, what do you give Quiet Place?
As a generic monster movie, I give it 7.
7
Wow.
stars. That's pretty good.
There you go.
Justin Wallace, 10 stars. What do you got?
5.
Okay.
The nail pissed me off.
Michael Colby.
I enjoy the premise of this movie. There's actually a lot of good things about this movie. It's just a lot of little shit that just sort of builds up. I'm gonna give it a 3.
Oh, I bet your favorite movie's Fast and Furious.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
I've never seen a single Fast and the Furious movie.
Dylan Terry, out of 10 stars, what do you got?
A perfectly functional 6.
Okay. Phil, how
Middle of the
many
road.
stars you got?
Phil said 7.
I said 7.
Phil said 7.
It's
All
your
right.
turn.
Heck, how many
Your
stars do
turn.
you give?
Yeah. Oh, I was reading My Name is Phil. I'm going to say
I'm sorry, you're
Yeah,
not as
I'm
good
gonna
looking
say-
as me.
that's fair. I should take my
That's
hat off
true,
and show you how
yeah.
good looking. Yeah, another bald bearded guy. Great. That's what we need here. So I'm going to say 6 stars. I think it was good. And honestly, like the novelty caught me. And if I were to rate this when I saw this, I'd probably say 7 or 8 stars. I'm going to say 6 out of 10 stars. Yeah. It's a fine movie. It's a fine movie. Dylan, what do we got? What's the total here?
I believe that comes out to 46. Let me double check that. Yeah, 46.
That sounds okay.
It's like 5 out of
46.
10, right?
All right. And then divided by 7 is what?
7.
What?
Well, it's like an
That's
average, right? Is it average?
slightly more than 6.
There's 8 of us.
All right, cool.
There's 8 of us.
Oh,
it's
there's
like
8 of us.
6
Yeah, all right,
and a third.
cool.
Yeah,
We'll
let's
figure
not give this a higher score than it
Slightly
needs.
less than 6.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Well, hey, guys, our first movie got slightly higher than 6 stars. Chris Harvey, great job bringing this to everybody. I'm a fan. I actually really enjoyed rewatching this. It's a cool movie. It's fine.
It's fun.
Yeah, it can be picked apart, but honestly, looking at
Real
everyone
quick.
else's list, yep.
Real quick, the podcast got much better when I tuned in. You're welcome.
Chris,
Yeah,
Thanks for that.
Chris, before we end the show, pitch A Quiet Place to anyone who hasn't seen it.
Oh man, want to watch a movie where no one will ask questions because you can keep going shh because you have to be quiet, well, this might be the movie for you. If you like The Office, it has nothing to do with The Office. But the guy from The Office is the best character. He's the best character in this. Yes, he may die at the end, but don't we all want to see someone die here and there? Yes, they do kill a 4-year-old. We did say that. But don't we all want to kill our 4-year-olds? You might as well go watch this movie right now, because don't we all just want a quiet place in our house to go and sit in? That's what we're looking for here in this movie. Do you like aliens? Me neither. That's why they don't show a lot of it in this movie. So, you can check it out. Emily Blunt is pregnant in it. She still looks amazing.
No, great. Great. Chris, you want to say goodbyes and tell people where they can see you?
Oh, Chris Harvey Comedy on all social media. Check me out. That's all.
Cool. Johnny Blaze.
Cloud Chronicles, Facebook, Cloud Chronicles, Instagram.
Also, real quick, Johnny, while I got you, we're doing what's the next movie we're doing? Hills Have Eyes, right?
Yes.
I think that's one of Dan's favorites. Johnny, have you seen this movie before? Hills Have Eyes.
I have. Are
you excited about rewatching this this thing?
Yeah. Excited is not the word I'd use, but I'm going to rewatch it.
No, I love that. Michael Colby, say goodbyes. Where can people find you?
Jack Billings presents Me and My Neighbor Michael. Also, I Love This Terrible Game, and some other stuff that I'm working on that I will announce when it's ready to be announced. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go find this DVD, and I'm going to throw it in the garbage can.
Just donate it. Just donate it to Goodwill. Don't throw it away.
Yeah, let me buy it again later. Justin Wallace.
Carpool Shenanigans, everywhere you can get your podcast, and OnlyFans.
I love you.
Yeah.
You got a beer pong game going back there? Got to get to it.
No, just an angry 3-year-old.
Oh,
Feel better. Say your goodbyes. Where can people find you?
They can find me at Invest in Yourself Pod on all social medias, and the website is at www.investinyourselfpod.com. Season 2 drops tomorrow at noon EST.
Right on. Dylan Terry, you're up next.
yeah, I am. Find me on Some Nobody Stuff podcast, a podcast show, Silicon Angels. We talked about Lovecraft Country, and pay attention for whenever Give Me Back, our short film is done.
Yeah, right on.
Well,
Dan
I'm
Levy.
not Dan. That's
No.
Dan.
Yeah, that's you. Dan, where can people find you?
Hey, what's up, guys? You can find Oops Caught Me Smoking on Spotify or wherever you like to listen to your podcast, and also on YouTube, and also theweedtube.com. Check that out, too.
And real quick, just because our next movie that we're doing is A Hills Have Eyes, do you want to pitch this movie? What is this movie about for people that don't know this movie?
This movie is pretty much scary as hell. It's the scariest movie I've pretty much ever seen, and I believe scary movies are not scary. So I believe that it's one of the scariest movies ever. So we're going to check it out tomorrow. And if you want to pitch it, I don't know if you're into gory cannibalism type stuff that, you know, that will make you cringe and not want to look at the TV. This is the movie for you.
Perfect. All right, guys. My name is Zach Wiseman. Thank you so much for paying attention to things. You can find me at all of Some Nobody Stuff, the same thing as Dylan. Like he said, we're on Silicon Angels. We have a show Talking Upstream, Twitching Upstream. We got a bunch of stuff. You can see me on Wednesdays on Jeff Dwoskin's show. Blah, 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 blah. Tune in next Monday where we review The Hills Have Eyes, which is one of Dan Levely's top 5 movies. So he's going to be the host of this next episode. He's going to be the one to ask all these questions. And then we get to bash him for having really bad taste in movies. But until next week, guys, thank you very much for watching. We've been The Real Boys, and see you next week. Bye.